It is my great privilege to welcome you all for this webinar on challenges in post-COVID-19 classrooms. I welcome our college secretary, Mr. S. Muralidharan, whose positive attitude can turn challenges into opportunities. I welcome our college principal, Dr. A. Joycelyn Sarmila, for providing her wonderful support and encouragement. I welcome our resource person, Mr. Ephraim Xavier, warmly and respectfully, a renowned certified trainer who is an expert in behavioral skill enhancement and leadership development among the young generations. He is the co-founder of Alchemist Training, who motivates and trains students to invest their time on knowledge today so that they can see fruitful results tomorrow. We are grateful to him for accepting our invitation to become the resource person for this webinar. Next, I welcome all our faculty members, my dear students, and I am very glad to welcome more than 650 participants from various institutions for this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Now I request our resource person to take this session.
All right. Thank you so much, madam. Before starting, I would really like to thank Annamal College of Education for trusting me and giving me such a great opportunity to interact with the best minds of this country. So thank you so much. And with this, I welcome each and every participants for this 1 hour session on challenges in post-COVID classrooms. Right. So am I audible? If I'm audible, please type yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That's great. I'm getting a lot of yes. That's perfect. So let's have a small rules and regulation for this 1 hour session. So if you have any questions in the while I'm taking this session, so please note it down. We'll have a 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A session at the last. So it will be really great if you could take down all your questions and then you can post the questions at the end of the session, not during the session. I hope it is okay for everyone. And let's start this session now. All right, just a minute. Okay, were you all able to see my screen? If you are able to see my screen, please type yes. Why is that I'm not able to see any chat here? Hello? Right, okay, I'm sharing it again. I'm sorry, there is some technical error. I'm sharing it again. Right, perfect. Okay, let's start this session. So I have one question for this. I want this entire session to be really interactive. Okay, so interact in the sense I'll be asking questions so that you can answer those questions using your chat messages. I hope it is okay for everyone. Let's start the session. I have a very simple question in the beginning. What is the role of a teacher in the classroom of tomorrow? Can you give a one-word answer for this? What is the role of teacher in the classroom of tomorrow? Can I have one-word answer for this? Guiding, motivation, challenging, okay. Techno-savvy, guide, motivator, okay. Facilitator, okay, wonderful, facilitator. That's good, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, The first priority so far in the previous sessions, the first priority would be something like academic, learning, facilitating, helping students to learn. These kind of things, like someone said, encouraging the participants or encouraging your students to study well in the academic. Focusing on academic takes the first place in the previous years. But in the upcoming years, it's going to be only one priority. At least for the next 1 year, the priority is going to be only one. It is nothing but the safety of the students, which can be completely new for the college category. But for school category, you might say students' safety is our first priority. We have been taking those safety into consideration all these years. The reason why I am putting student safety first is now, after this academic year, it is going to take to a new level. Parents are going to give a new fresh weightage for this kind of safety alone. Don't be surprised if after completing your class, you go back to your house and then you get a call from one of your students' father, and then he will be talking to you and saying, today in the second hour, you are coughing twice. If you have health issues, please don't come to school or college. So such kind of questions will be arising when you're getting inside the classroom in this years. So class முடிச்சிட்டு நீங்க வீட்டுக்கு போனதுக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு பேரண்ட் கண்டிப்பா உங்களுக்கு கூப்பிடுவார். ஏன் இன்னைக்கு கிளாஸ்ல 2 பேர் இருமுனீங்க, 2 தடவை இருமுனீங்க. இந்த மாதிரி இருமுதா இருந்தா நீங்க லீவ் எடுத்துக்கலாமே. Because from the parent perspective, you see, the most important thing is students' safety. Academics comes second to it. If you're accepting to this, just type accept. That's perfect. That's perfect. So the main role of the teacher is not just academic, it is just the safety of the students. So it is going to take, the safety of the students is going to take the next different level. So please be prepared for it. இதனால் வரைக்கும் அந்த ஆங்கிள் நம்ம யோசித்து பார்த்திருக்கவே மாட்டோம். From a college point of view, if you see, it will be very easy. College வந்துட்டாங்க, they'll take care of themselves அப்படிங்கிற attitude நம்மளுக்கு இருந்திருக்கலாம். But from this year onwards, student safety, it is in the hands of the teacher, not with the students. So the management and the staff has to take extra care for the safety of the students. Anything happens with the safety of the students, you are answerable, right? So my next challenge is, I'm taking you through the teaching challenge, okay? If I have told you 2 months back that all the teaching, okay, only English. Is there anybody in this session who cannot understand Tamil? Because I'm getting some message. Is there anybody in the session who cannot understand Tamil? Okay. All right. I'll try to keep it in English. That's great. Bilingual, somebody says bilingual. Okay, that's great. That's perfect. I'll try. Like few months earlier, not few months, just 2 months earlier, if I have told you that the entire teaching is going to take the different level of, there is something called virtual classroom, I'm 100% sure that 90% of us wouldn't agree to a virtual classroom. Am I right? Because virtual classroom is something beyond our imagination. We are used to the physical classroom alone. If you agree with that, please type agree. That's great. So we are going to focus on the virtual classroom. What is the basic difference, do you think, between the basic classroom as physical classroom as well as the virtual classroom? In the physical classroom, you stand and the students sit in front of you, right? So there is something in between you and your students in the virtual classroom. Can someone guess what exactly it is? In the virtual classroom, there is something between you and the students. Okay, two-party communication. Okay, distance, somebody says distance. Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, lack of information exchange. Okay, teachers can't watch it virtual. Okay, lack of eye contact. Okay, everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. You're getting very narrow down. I'm just talking on a broader perspective. It's very simple. What is that? It's technology. Between you and student, there is something called technologies inside. You have to interact with the students only by using technology. You cannot interact without this technology. And most of the teachers that I have interacted with, when I say that you have to equip yourself with technology, they often give the same answer. We are really comfortable with physical classroom training. And my dear teachers, the future is going to be only technology, only technology. I'll give a very simple example. 2 months before, not 2 months, 3 months before, we did a same kind of training program in Andamal College where I took the class, one full day class, where there were only 200 people were able to attend the session. But today, more than 500 people are attending this session purely because of leveraging this technology. So technology sometimes might look very challenging for you, but make sure that you are getting used to those technology. Okay. Now we are going to focus on 4 important challenges in using this technology. If you would like to know what are the 4 challenges, please type 4 in the chat box. Please type 4. That's great. That's great. So let's see what are the challenges in using technology. So the first challenge is going to be the mindset of the teachers. Mindset of the teachers. There are 2 different kinds of mindset, my dear friends. One is a growth mindset. The other is a fixed mindset. Sometimes we have the fixed mindset. The problem will be always there when you have a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset with something, you see your job as though everything is complete. You're learning, everything is complete. The moment you think that your learning is over and your job is done, you are getting inside the mindset called fixed mindset. Your learning gets stopped when you are getting inside the fixed mindset. Most of the school teachers, most of the college teachers will get into this mindset the moment they get inside their first job, because they've been conditioned again and again saying that once I get a teaching job, I get settled in my life. That's not the case. That's not the case. The moment you start thinking about settling down after getting the job, you get inside that fixed mindset. The more fixed mindset you are, technology will be very difficult for you to understand. I want you to overcome that technology by getting inside a growth mindset. A growth mindset is something where you learn each and every day. You see teaching as a process of learning for ourselves. The more we learn, the more we can teach others. So I want you to change that mindset, because we have been used to or conditioned all these days for a physical classroom and not for a virtual classroom. But if you see, the virtual classroom or the online training program is been there for more than a decade. Since 2010, this online classroom has been there, but as a teacher, we have never even thought of tapping that huge market. So take this as challenge, as an opportunity to convert so that you can reach a lot of people in a more positive manner. So if you're accepting the fixed, if you're not accepting the fixed mindset, and if you would like to take the growth mindset, please type growth. That's great. That's great. The first challenge to overcome technology is to have a growth mindset. Never have the ideology or attitude saying that you have learned everything. Your learning is over. Your physics learning is all over. Just the college is over. Not like that. Every day it's going to be a new learning for you in terms of technology. Okay, let's go for the second challenges in technology. The second challenge is learning centric. So far, we have been used to teacher-centric classrooms. A teacher is always seen as a source of informations. Take it very clearly. A teacher is always seen as a source of information. That's how we see ourselves as a teacher. But gone are those days. Teachers are not just a source of information. If you're trying to see in that angle, I would say Google is a better teacher than you because Google has got more information than a teacher inside a classroom, right? So there is nothing like teacher centric. Hereafter, whatever that is going to happen in your classroom, it is not going to be teaching centric. It is not even student centric. It is learning centric. I'll tell you a very simple scenario. As far as technology is concerned, whom do you think is better? Your students are better or teachers are better? If you think students are better, type student. If you think teachers are good in technology, type teachers. Yes, I'm getting a lot of answer as student. So as a teacher, we all agree our students are far better in technology, right? Far better in technology. The moment you think that the classroom is teacher centric, that you are the center of teaching program, your ego gets into your head and that becomes difficult for you to learn those technology from your students. From now onwards, it is going to be learning centric, which means that even you are going to learn along with the students. Sometimes in the future, when you are going to handle the similar kind of training session, similar kind of online teaching sessions, when you are trying to search where is the mic, one of your students will raise his voice and say, ma'am or sir, it will be on the left corner of your screen. Please be prepared for it. Your students, your own students are going to help you in terms of learning those technology. I want you to take that immediate understanding of this learning centric mindset. If you're not getting inside this learning centric mindset, when a student is trying to correct you or teach you a new technology, your ego will hit your head and that will block your learning capacity. And again, you will get inside a teaching centric atmosphere, which is not good for a classroom. So if you're understanding or if you're accepting this learning centric methodology, please type learning centric in the chat box. Yes, that's great. That's great. Learning centric. See, when you, if I can give one more simple explanation for that. See, containers are not important. What is inside the containers are very important. Teachers are like containers. What is inside it much more important than us. Okay, so please be very clear. So if the container become empty, if the container become empty, the container will be thrown out. So the more you pour inside these containers, the more you put inside this container in terms of personal learning, you will be relevant to this modern technology. So if you are not very adaptable to the change, if you're very strict and say, I am used only to this physical classroom is the best classroom. If you're in that attitude, you may find it literally difficult while using technology in terms of connecting or teaching or coaching your students, right? The third major challenge that we are going to face is creating a digital content, right? We are being used for physical classroom. We are very comfortable in going to the house, preparing, and then coming back to giving some Xerox papers or some photocopies of this information or something you can even write on the board and then make the student to understand what you're trying to teach. Creating a digital content is going to take to the next level because some teachers may not be in a very comfortable position in terms of preparing a PPT. I'm telling you, PPT is just a portion of a digital content. PPT is a portion of this digital content. What we are seeing, what you are witnessing in my screen is not PPT. I've been used to doing only PPT presentation throughout my training programs. But the moment I'm forced to get inside this online, I have to look for new tools. There are hundreds of tools where you can actually create your digital content. This digital content, I would even say that as a digital assert. It is purely for you. Won't you be interested in purchasing some assert? Take that kind of attitude when you're producing or creating a digital content. Digital content is something like that. It is an assert for you. It is an assert. Keep creating more digital content. The more digital content you keep create, you will get really comfortable with the technology. The reason why we often think technology is very challenging is because we don't have any digital content as of now. Even now, when I am interacting with teachers, they say I'm going to download PPTs from the internet. How long can you go and download PPTs from the internet? You know what? The students will go and see the same website, and he will decide this teacher has actually copied from this. So try to create your own digital content. So it will be difficult in the beginning, but the moment you get inside the growth mindset, the moment you think that you as a teacher have to learn each and every day, you will definitely gradually get inside that digital content, right? So if you're accepting with connecting, creating digital content, please type digital content. That's great. That's great. See, while connecting, while generating your digital contents, as a, in a, if you can be a part of a management, or you can just a teacher, try to create your own digital content. Do not just download from internet or just copy from there. The reason, again, I'm telling you, even your students will have access to such kind of things. The moment they find that you have actually copied the content from somebody else, your authenticity might go down. So if you want to keep that authenticity, if you want to hold that you are the king of the content, create your own digital content. Okay. Again, I'm telling you, PPT is just a small portion. There are hundreds of tools. The tool which I'm using right now is called XMind. It's a free tool. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. This tool, I find it way better than PPT while taking online classroom. Right? So try to take as many such kind of tools and then try to implement those tools in your classrooms. The tool that I'm using right now is called XMind. XMind. I'll type it. Maybe at the end of the session, I'll tell you. It's called XMind. X-M-I-N-D. X-M-I-N-D. XYZ. X. Ah, exactly. That's right. Xmind.com. Xmind.net. If you go there, you can download this. You can easily teach maths in this. It is easier if there is a step-by-step procedure that you are trying to teach, right? So this is one tool. Before 2 days ago, I have no idea about this tool. I thought just because I'm doing something new in this technology, I thought of using this tool. And today, I'm very sure my next Zoom training is definitely, it is going to be only in this XMind. So try to make use of all these available tools. And again, I'm telling you, most of the tools are available for free, You can make use of those things, right? So if you have understood all the 4 challenges in technology, please type understood. That's great. Let me summarize for a minute. So as far as mindset is concerned, we should go for a growth mindset. Make sure that all your teachers are not in a fixed mindset. If you are in a fixed mindset, you are going to be losing this race. The second thing is going to be the learning centric. No more teacher centric. It is only learning centric. You as well as the students are going to learn inside the classroom. As a teacher, your role is to facilitate the learning. In the meantime, facilitating, you're also going to learn for yourself. So make sure that you are in the learning centric attitude. The third one is creating a digital content. For few of us, it is going to be really difficult, but it is challenging, but go ahead and face it. Go ahead and face it. And the fourth one is engaging content. See, when you're inside a classroom, you ask questions and people will answer you. That is easy way of engaging people. But how do you engage in a class, in a setup like a Zoom meeting? The way that I am engaging is one way of engaging. Can you all understand? I'm just asking you to type certain things the moment I teach the concept. So this is one way of making sure that you're engaging with the participants. This is one way that you can make sure that the participants are in line with your teaching. I have actually seen a couple of teachers, they are just teaching without even knowing that the people or the students are understanding. And again, I'm telling you, my dear friends, education is nothing but learning. If you remove learning from education, the entire word becomes meaningless. It doesn't matter that you complete your chapter. It doesn't matter that you have a very huge school. It doesn't matter that you have 25 years of experience. If there is no learning happening inside your classroom, my dear friends, there is absolutely nothing called education is happening inside your classroom. So have some engaging content. You have to have some engaging content. I'll tell you another simple example for this, right? I still remember one day when I am in my school, I was actually dancing for a Tamil song. Okay, all my entire classmates were standing around me, and I'm standing and I'm just singing that song and I'm dancing. My next room to my class is the physics lab, which is my class teacher. We were shouting, my entire classroom is shouting just because that I am dancing by singing that song. All of a sudden, my physics teacher came inside, which I didn't expect. My physics teacher asked me, you are able to learn all these songs very clearly. Can't you learn this physics definitions? He asked this question to me, okay? I didn't answer anything to her. You must have had such kind of experience. We keep asking our students, like, if you're able to learn, if you're able to understand all these, lyrics in that song, why can't you understand this simple maths? Why can't you understand this simple physics, right? But if I was asked the same question now, you know what I would have said? It's simple. I would have asked her another question. Madam, if I can learn this lyrics easily, why do you think I am finding it difficult to learn whatever you are teaching? Can you find the difference? The reason why students are able to understand or able to learn the lyrics easily is that is very engaging. That is very engaging. Whereas teaching and the classroom, sometimes if it is not engaging, I won't be in a position to learn. So it is the duty of the teacher to produce some engaging content. It's not just interest. Somebody says it's because of the interest. No, it's just not just interest. It is the duty of the teacher to create the interest. It is the duty of the teacher to create that interest. Okay. So when something is very engaging, I can easily learn. When something is not engaging, I am absolutely not ready to learn. Right. So if you understand this particular concept, please type engage. Please type engage. That's great. That's great. Okay, I'm moving one step ahead and giving you another important thing. See, the role of the teacher is to produce the curiosity of learning. The students will learn for himself. Students will learn for himself. I'm telling you. The role of a teacher is to generate or produce the curiosity. It is to maintain the curiosity of your students. I'll tell you a very small incident which happened yesterday in my apartment. Okay. So I am sure everybody must have come across such scenario. If you eat this seed inside a fruit, so people will be making fun of you when you're very young. They'll say that plant will grow in your stomach. Have you ever heard of such kind of thing? If you have heard, please type yes. Right. I still remember when I was young, lot of people made me to cry just because I swallowed a seed. Okay. Yesterday in our apartment, a 7-year-old boy, we were all eating watermelon, and unknowingly he ate one watermelon seed, and he was shouting that he ate a watermelon seed. For fun, I told him that tomorrow there will be a watermelon plant is going to grow inside his stomach. You know what his answer is? A 7-year-old kid answered me saying that there will be no sunlight inside my stomach. How do you expect a tree to grow inside the stomach? I have never ever heard such kind of explanation from a 7-year-old kid. Okay, which literally means students have the capacity to answer, students have the capacity to learn for themselves. At this moment, I can only give the credit to the teacher who have made sure that the curiosity of the learning for the kid is to remain while the teaching is happening inside the classroom. So as a teacher, please don't blame that the student is not interested, the student is not involvement, that only because of that he is not able to follow my class. No, it is purely because the engagement level of the content that you are teaching. So make sure that you have to create an engaging content. Right. See, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to create an engagement in this. That's the reason why I keep myself or my participants alive with this program. So if you're finding it interesting, this program, please type interest in this comment section. We are getting inside the next portion. That's great. That's great. So I'm getting inside, I'm just running out of time. I'm getting inside this physical classroom training. Physical classroom training. Again, after a month, after 2 months, the schools, colleges are going to open. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. While the schools and colleges are going to open, while you go and stand in front of the student, there are going to be another 4 important challenges that you're going to face. The number 1 challenge is connection. The number 1 challenge is connection. See, as a trainer, I strongly believe only one thing. The effectiveness inside a classroom, it depends upon the relationship between the teacher and the students. I'm telling you again, the effectiveness of the teaching inside a classroom depends upon the relationship between the student and the teachers. If you agree with that, please type yes. That's correct. Have you seen kids? Sometimes they score really good in one subject, in the other subjects, they'll score very poor scores. They'll take very poor scores. You know why? It is because if you go and analyze very carefully, they will get good marks with the subject handled by the professors whom they like. So making them to like you, creating that relationship is going to be little challenging when you are getting inside the classroom. So you have to create that connection. Again, I'm telling you, my dear teachers, every time when you're going inside a classroom, every time when you're going and standing inside a classroom, please understand, do not proceed with your academic content without creating a connection. It's of absolutely no use. Absolutely no use. The number 1 thing that you have to do every time when you go and stand in front of the student is establish the connection. When I say connection, I mean the relationship between you and the students. You can crack a joke. You can talk something else, not just subject. You can talk something beyond subject, but make sure that you are establishing the connection. Okay, right. So let's get inside the second challenge. The second challenge is interrupted learning. This is something we are not used to, such kind of things. If you are thinking the college or the school will open after 2 months and it will continue just like that, I'm sorry, you are wrong. There might be some interrupted in terms of learning. I'll give a very simple example. 2 days back, 2 big companies in Chennai, they have reopened. One is Nokia, the other is Hyundai. Okay. After 2 days of reopening and starting their manufacturing units, they have identified 6 to 15 working employees of these 2 industries are affected with COVID-19. You know what happened? The government had issued notice to close or shut down the company for the next 15 days. Don't be surprised if such kind of scenario is going to happen in your college or in your school. Maybe after 1 month of the training, after 1 month of reopening, one day you will come to know some 5 or 6 of your students studying in your class or in your school will be affected. What do you think will happen? The government will force you to shut the school for the next 14 days and then ask you to reopen only after 14 days. So there is going to be some interruption in terms of learning. If you can understand or agree, you can able to relate with this example, please type yes. Right? See, the challenge is when it is uninterrupted, there is a continuous learning that will happen. You will be absolutely okay with that. When the interruption comes in, that's when the challenge, big challenge. Let's assume I'm taking just for an example. If this particular session, supposing it has been postponed for 5 times. Today I have 500 participants here, but if they had postponed 5 times and then asking you to come again for the 6th time, I am very sure only 50%, 50 people will be getting inside. Because people don't like getting postponed things. People don't like interruption. Your interest will gradually go down. So the reason why I'm saying interrupted learning is going to be a biggest challenge in physical classroom is prepare mentally, prepare mentally. So this is not going to be the challenge for you. This is going to be the biggest challenge for the parents as well as for the students, because every like 115 full day they are going to be in a quarantine. Again, they are to coming back to the school. It's going to be literally difficult for them to learn. So be mentally prepared for such kind of scenario. So interrupted learning is going to be a part of our day-to-day working or in a academic activity. So don't get surprised. Okay. The third challenge is social distancing or little sports or no sports. Okay. Why do you think we give summer holidays for kids? It's very simple, because we are just giving them a small portion of time so that they can re-energize themselves and come back to school, right? We allow people to go out and play sports. Even now, I have seen people in schools and colleges, they see sports as if as though it is something an unwanted something. It is something that students are not allowed to go if they are in their 10th and 12th standard. But it is not like that. Recreation, sports, spending some fun time are not just about wasting time. It is all about energizing yourself. Remember, the time that we have given in the name of holidays in home, it is not meant, or it is not used for refreshing or re-energizing. It is actually the mental torture the students as well as the parents are undergoing in the class, in the house. You cannot say that as a refreshing thing. And the same thing is going to happen inside the classroom also. There won't be any sports, at least not any sports, at least much sports will be there. The students will have very little chance of interacting with their own classmates because of social distancing. So you have to cope up with all these kinds of things. Okay. The fourth challenge that I want to talk is about the shifts in colleges. Schools and colleges, especially schools, you may not be in a position to understand this shifts in schools. And there are proposals with the government. I'm not sure, but there are proposals with the government saying that, is it possible to conduct 2-3 shift schools? Which means that, let's assume you have 30 members in your classroom. 15 will come on odd days and the rest 15 will come on even days, which means that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one batch will come, and Tuesday, from Thursday and Saturday, next batch will come. We are not used to such kind of things, but get used to it. I'm not saying this is going to come immediately, but don't get surprised. Don't get surprised, which means one chapter you have to take it 2 times. So get your mentally prepared for such kind of things. If you are prepared for the worst, the chance for you to face the challenge will be very high. So if you have understood the 4 challenges in the physical classroom, please type physical classroom or PC. Perfect. And now we are getting inside next very important challenge of facing students and parents. All right. The first one is social distance may lead to some getting socially distant. Okay. Social distance may lead to some getting social distance. It's very simple. Let me ask you very simple questions. Please, say yes if at least one person that you know very closely or affected with COVID-19. I'm asking a very close friend. Please type yes. If you see the comment box, this is exactly what I expected. If you see the comment box, I could see lot of no's. Am I right? Lot of no's. I have seen only one yes so far, which literally means COVID-19 and what people are undergoing, what families are undergoing, are just a theory for most of us, right? And most of us have absolutely no idea what a family will undergo. or what a son will undergo, what a kid will undergo if one of their family members is getting affected by COVID-19. So just because a student is affected and then came back after getting affected from this coronavirus, do not isolate, do not stigmatize those persons, do not stigmatize those kids. That is going to be your next big challenge. That is going to be your next big challenge. If you have 15 students or 30 students in your class, and if there is 2 boys who have actually recovered from coronavirus, you could actually see the rest of the students are making some distance with these 2 students. As a teacher, you have to ensure that nothing of this sort is happening inside your class. Nothing of this sort is happening inside your class. And don't be surprised, one of your student parent will come and tell you, is it possible to change this session for my kid? Okay, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. So if that is going to be the case, it is your duty to make them understand, if it is your duty to make them understand that it is not right to stigmatize the person who have actually recovered from such kind of disease, right? So I hope you can understand what I'm just saying by this first challenge, right? If you have understood the first challenge, just type understood. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, let's get into the second one. Social media addiction. This is very important problem that every school, every college has been facing now. I'll give you a very brief description of what exactly social media addiction is all about. See, I call this as addiction because I have a scientific reason why I call this as an addiction. I'll tell you, see, we call smoking, we call drinking alcohol, gambling, all these as addiction, right? All this is addiction. The reason why we say this is addiction is there is a small, enzyme inside your brain that get released when you're actually smoking. The reason why alcohol addict always go behind alcohol is every time when he's going and taking that alcohol, the brain releases the small enzyme, and that enzyme is called dopamine. That enzyme is called dopamine. That dopamine is a feel good hormone. Every time when you smoke, the brain releases one shot of dopamine. The moment one shot of dopamine is released, you feel actually good. That's the reason why every time the addicted people will go back again, again, and again for whatever they have been addicted for. But the biggest challenge is when you are using social media, when you are getting the number of likes for your photo, when you are not getting likes, every time when you are getting liked, your photo is being liked in your Instagram, there is one shot of dopamine released in your brain and you feel good. That's the reason you feel good. When you're sitting inside a classroom, when you get an SMS, when you get the sound of that SMS, you feel good, right? The ting, that sound that released from your mobile, you feel good. It is purely because of that enzyme is being released the moment the sound is being heard by your brain. But unfortunately, for alcohol, for smoking, for pornography, for gambling, you have age restrictions. You have age restrictions. For social media, we don't have any age restrictions. We have this entire generation growing up in the attitude of addicted towards social media. As a teacher, it is your responsibility to understand this and then make them to come out of it. And adding to that, now what happened? 2 months back, if someone bring a mobile in your classroom, you must have said, please get out, right? Because you will not allow the mobile phone inside classroom. But today, every school, every teacher, every student is advising students to go for your mobile phone or laptop or tab for using for connecting or understanding for learning through technology through virtual classroom, which means that from now onwards, the chance of people getting more addicted to social media is going to increase, because now you are actually giving the media to them. You are actually giving the mode of addiction to them. And now you have a greater responsibility of handling people in terms of social media addiction. When you have the choice of interacting with the parents, Tell them very clearly that there has to be some kind of restriction for people using social media. I'm not saying that students should never use social media. No, I'm not for it. You have to use social media, but there has to be some kind of restriction. Let it be 15 minutes for a day, or let it be 30 minutes for the day. There has to be some kind of restriction for using social media. So even for you as well as for your own kids, do not give social media without any restriction to your kids. So when you are sitting with your kids, when you're sitting with your students as well as parents for a meeting, so make sure that you are making them understand there has to be some kind of restriction. I'm little rushing. I'm just running out of time. And the third one is bulldozer parents will intensify. Now, parents are literally full of anxiety. They don't know what exactly to happen. And these days, have you seen, as a teacher, you must have experienced this over parenting, parent who is taking too much care for their kid. Have you experienced such kind of over parenting parents? Please type over parenting. Please type over parenting. Yes, too much of pampering, too much of pampering. So parents, that will automatically increase because there are a lot of uncertainties. As a parent, I will definitely feel that my kid is not equipped enough to overcome this uncertainty. I have to go and sit for him. So people, the interaction between the parents as well as teacher will gradually increase. And teachers and parents are going to come and bulldoze you in terms of some request, in terms of requesting you, in terms of fighting with you. So make sure that you are prepared, your mind is prepared for bulldozing parents, right? So the fourth one that I want to do is fear of being alone and fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. How many of you, I can tell you a scenario which I think most of you can relate to it. If you have experienced a hostel life, please type hostel life here. Please type hostel life here. Oh my God. Well, okay. There are mixed people. Okay. So people who have actually had the experience of in hostel can actually relate to what I'm going to say now, right? So if you could go back to the memories and see what exactly happened one day before the exams, you know what will happen in the hostel? Everybody will be in one room. Everybody will be in one guy's room and they'll be asking for, hey, can you tell some good nice stories for this? And people will be going to room to ask for stories for whatever you have taught in your classroom. So if you can understand that, please type understood hostel life. You must have exactly right. You must have understood this. You will go or entire your classmates will be coming to you asking for, please explain this particular question or please explain the story, right? Because learning will happen when you are together. Learning will happen when you are together. I'm telling you, my dear friends, if there are two people in your classroom and if you're trying to teach a concept and if one person had actually understood the concept and the other person cannot understand what you as a teacher you are teaching, you know what? His or her friend will actually have the better capability of explaining the concept what you are trying to teach. You may be finding it very difficult for the second student to get convinced, to convince the second student to understand, but his own friend will easily make him to understand because he had learned just a minute ago. He knows the actual difficulty of learning that particular concept. But for you and for me, we have learned some 5-6 years ago that concept, or 10 or 15 years ago sometimes. So we may find it very difficult. That's the reason why I'm just saying fear of being alone. In the name of socializing, in social distancing, there might be some kind of fear within the students that they are left alone, that they are missing out the crowd. Entire crowd is running. I don't know what I'm doing now. I don't know, everybody is learning, but I am missed out. If it is inside a classroom, they may go and approach their friend. But if it is a virtual classroom, they might literally find it difficult to cope up with fear of being alone and fear of missing out. And my dear teachers, you have a greater role in playing in this. Again, I'm telling you, as a teacher, before in the last academic year, Your objective may be finishing up the subjects, finishing up the curriculum at the correct speculated time. But no more it is in the upcoming academic year. It is your duty to make sure that you have to handle the fear of being alone and the fear of missing out. It is your duty to handle. This is not just for school students, my dear friends. This is especially for college students, especially for college students. In school students, it is easily seen in their face. But in college students, they'll put a nice mask in front of them, and then they will say or they will act as though they are 100% confident. But deep inside, they might be lacking their confidence. As a teacher, it is your role to go and ensure that every kid is not being left alone. Every kid is not missed out while you are running towards the goal, right? Next one, family emotional crisis. See, as I said earlier, we have not experienced, very few of us have experienced what Corona can do for our family, right? But for us, all these things are theory. But a person, a student who is sitting inside a classroom can actually undergo such, might have undergone such kind of emotional roller coaster. So you have to understand that. Maybe their father, he might be fired from his work. That might cause a huge emotional crisis in his family. Maybe that kid might have lost his father or mother or somebody, a close relationship, due to this coronavirus. And that is a huge emotional crisis that is going to happen inside a kid's mind. So as a teacher, you have a greater role in handling the emotional. The biggest challenge, my dear friends, if injury is happening physically, it is seen. If I have broke my leg, you can actually see my leg broken. And then you can physically see my pain happening there. But 99.99% of the percentage of the emotional damage are not seen. Just because you are not able to see the emotional damage, that doesn't mean there is no emotional damage. As a teacher, you have to understand this and see and take care of the emotional damage that has been caused for the kids. And more importantly, while talking about emotional damage, I have seen a lot of people saying that, oh, if you feel sad or if you feel depressed, come on, get up, let's go out. If you're sitting like this, you will still feel more embarrassed and more depressed. Let's go out, come on, come on. I understand the intention of it. But please handle it in a more professional way. You will not go and ask a guy who has broken his leg and say, come on, let's go out. You won't say like that, right? Because the damage is physically seen. In emotional, the damage is not physically seen. So as a teacher, please go and ensure that the emotional part of your own students are handled in a better way. The next challenge for students and teachers are placement issues. Placement, I am very sorry to say that, placement might get very difficult in the upcoming academic year. And students who have planned for higher studies might find it difficult. Foreign universities may restrict students from other countries, and such kind of things might happen. See, for some people, it's a dream to go there, to go to Harvard University and study. It's a dream to go to America and study. It's a dream to go and study in a Singapore university. When that dream of 10 years or 5 years has been shattered, they're going to get affected emotionally. So it is your duty to handle those things. Tell them that is not the only thing, and try to ensure that they are crossing those kind of hurdles in a very comfortable position, right? Good. So, and the next one I'm going, which is the domestic violence against children and women. And there is a statistics which says the number of calls that government is getting in domestic violence for kids and children had raised 40% in the last 2 months. 40%. That's very huge, which means so far if they have received 100 calls, now they are receiving 140 calls. When you are going and sitting inside your classroom, remember, the student sitting inside your classroom might have undergone some domestic violence. A father who have lost his job might go uncontrollably and might have given some few kicks to the kids. In spite of all these family violence, the kid is sitting inside your classroom. And trust me, you have a greater responsibility in terms of handling those kids, If you see the challenges that I have listed, all these, in the top, very few challenges or academic challenges, Most of the challenges are not academic, that is beyond academic. It is your duty to ensure that you are overcoming beyond this academic mindset. The last thing that I want to talk is anxiety. If you agree, I don't know if it is right to say in this session, the government Department of Education, I think they are making literally a mess. They say 10th standard exam is going to start on June 1. And they say, and then after a few days, they say, no, it's not June 1, it's going to be June 15. And earlier they said 5th standard and 8th standard are going to get the public exams. And then they are going to say, and then they said, no, we are canceling that. Such kind of anxiety is not just for teachers. It is not just for parents. It's also for students. In fact, students are undergoing a huge anxiety. As a teacher, you are showing your anxiety over the students. As a parent, they are showing their own anxiety over the students. At the end, the small kid, young kid, is being putting is under a lot of pressure and anxiety. And as a teacher, it is your duty to take care of all these challenges. Again, I'm telling you, most of these challenges are beyond academic. If you have understood all the 8 challenges of parents and teachers, please write 8. That's great. Absolutely great. And now, okay, so far I have said everything about challenges, right? Now, I can't just say challenges, right? I have to give the solutions. So here are a few list of tips where you can actually use to overcome these challenges. Okay, right. So the first question is, I have to ask you, does our student feel valued as an individual? I have actually taken this survey to a couple of few students that I know. More than 95% of our students, or at least that I have interacted, they say they don't feel valued as individual. You know why? Every decision that they make, it is not their decision. It is either their parents' decision or the teacher's decision, right? My kid has to do an MBBS. My kid has to do an computer engineering. My kid has to be an architect. It is not the student who's deciding. Most of the times who's deciding? The parents are deciding. And from the teacher point of view, you should write this question only like this. Have you not seen what is inside the book? Can't you write what is in the book? They don't feel we have not given enough opportunity for them to express themselves. Let them feel valued. Okay. I am not asking you to say whatever your kids say, please accept. I'm not saying that. You can still ask him to pursue a doctorate degree. But before saying that, try to get his opinion so that he can understand, okay, at least my parent is valuing my opinion. When you are not even allowing them to express his own opinion or her own opinion, how do you think that they can feel valued as an individual? That's the biggest challenge. So as a teacher, make sure that you are making your students to feel valued as an individual. The easiest thing I can tell you is, let him express his opinion. Everybody has their own opinion. Let him express that opinion. When you are trying to teach something, before even teaching, let them say all their opinions. This serves 2 purposes. 1, when they say all their opinions outside, their head become empty. Now, if you give whatever that you want to teach, it gets actually filled in their head, right? Number 2, the students actually feel that their voice is being heard. So it serves 2 purposes. So when there is an opinion, make sure that you are getting the opinions of the students and then share your opinion. That is the true leadership. As a teacher, I strongly believe every teacher is a leader. Every teacher is a leader. So as a teacher, make sure that you're getting the opinions of the students and then share your opinions, right? Right. Maybe I'll take another 5 minutes to close this. Okay, what are the two priorities for this academic year? The number one is survival. Number one is survival. Your next academic year priority is not going to be academics, not going to be academics. But as a teacher, you might get some pressure from the students. You might get some pressure from your own management saying that this year we need so and so amount of results. I'm not denying it. You might get huge amount of pressure from the bulldousing parents saying that I want my teacher, my student, my kid to get about 1,000 marks, 1,100 marks. So though it has been, though those pressure is going to be on us, make sure that your objective is to ensure that the survival of the kid. Let the kid pass through this academic year and then everything will be okay. The reason why I take survival is if you are taking all this pressure from the students, all this pressure from the parents, all this pressure from the management, and then if you're putting the same pressure on the kids, there are chances he will start hating classes. And there might be some chances that he will never even will take the interest of coming back and learning. So just because of one virus, let's not screw the entire career of the kid. So if somebody can survive this entire next academic year, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. Okay. The second thing, your objective is resilience. Resilience is make sure that you are teaching your kids to bounce back every time when they fall down. So in the next academic year, these two are going to be your top priority. If you are understanding these two priorities, please type 2 in the comment box. That's great. That's great. So I have 4 points to discuss more about how to improve the resilience, but I'm not going there. For the lack of time. I'm just skipping that. The third one is encourage diversity of intelligence. See, intelligence is diverse, not just one way of looking at it. See, marks, physics, chemistry are all one concept of intelligence. There are a hell of a lot of intelligence available. Take this opportunity to help your kids to see the other intelligence that has been possible, to see other areas where they are actually interested in it. This is the right time to encourage them to go and may pursue their interest in something else. So I'm not saying that stop them from academic and then make them entire full year to work on their interest. No, I'm not taking it. So I'm just saying in the meantime of academic, also try to teach them it is nothing wrong in pursuing something else. Maybe a person who's really good in singing, maybe they can try it out. A person who can really good in football, they can try it out. This is the right time for you to teach them and encourage them that there's a diversity of intelligence. Your academic is just one intelligence. Your marks are just one intelligence, not all intelligence. Please do not just judge or stigmatize people using this marks or their performance, this academic performance in the next 1 year. Okay. The next one is engage, enable, expect, empower. As a teacher, you have to engage them with content. If you are not engaging them with the content, they will not be with you. Number 2, enable. Enable is like something like there is no one point of solution for everyone. Right? So I teach so that everybody should learn it. Now it is their duty, their interest, their involvement to learn. No, you have to assess yourself. Am I in the right place of teaching them? Is there anything that I can change in my teaching thing so that I can explain this particular concept in a better way? So with that thing, I have to enable my own position of teaching. So it's not just engaging, it is just enabling. And the third one is expecting. The teacher should make sure that they are expecting something from the student. The student should know what is their expectations. So if you are very clear about the expectations, while I'm starting this session, I set my expectations very clear. I told you all just to keep all your questions in the middle that I will not take any questions during the session. I'm just setting my expectations. If I had not set the expectations, people must have put some questions and they must have thought, oh, this guy is not even answering this question. Just because I have set the expectations, I was able to carry this entire session in a very smooth manner. The last one is empower. You have to empower your kids. Kids Again, take this line very, very, very deep inside your heart. Okay. You are not educating the kid to pass school. You are not there to educate the kid to pass their college life. You are actually educating them to live a life which is beyond your school and beyond your college life. So your education is for that. Your education is for not just school, not just college. For that, you have to keep empowering, keep empowering. So some people are asking me to open the resilience. So if I have time in the final, I might open. So as of now, I'm not opening it, right? Okay. So third, the last one is give them courage. When I'm talking about courage, courage is external or internal? What do you think? Courage, is it external or internal? Please type external or internal. Okay. Okay, a lot of people say courage is internal, right? I have complete different perspective. You know what? Courage is an external thing. It is not internal. It is external. Assume, I'll explain why. Okay. I'm not saying it is not internal. I'm not saying it is, I'm not denying it. I have a different understanding of courage. I'm just trying to say that. It is the external factor that can make a student more courageous. A very simple example I can tell you is, I'm sure everybody must have gone to some circus kind of entertainment, right? In the very beginning of circus, you will have this trapeze game going on. Trapeze is nothing but the people will be jumping in that bar, okay? I'm sure people can easily understand what trapeze is all about. It's just jumping in the bar. If you can understand trapeze, please type yes. Yeah, you know, they'll be hanging and then they'll be, hanging and then they will jumping, holding somebody else and the other bar, and then they'll be coming back. So this is trapeze, okay? Why do you think that the person who is jumping here and there is very confident of doing it? You know why? It is because of the net that is available in the below, because he's 100% sure the net will save his life when he fall down. The net gives him the courage. The courage is not within him. It is the net that is below that gives him the courage. A person who is crossing two mountains without any net, in a rope, in a tight rope walking, how do you think, where did you think that the person gained the concept? The person actually gained the concept by practicing again and again and again with the net, and then he comes to a position that he can walk without the net. So it is the net that gives him the confidence. So similar way, it is the external part that can gives you the confidence. It is the teacher that can gives you the courage. When I'm talking about courage, every time when a person fail, the courage goes down. You know why? Because people judge them. As a teacher, it is very important that you teach your kids it's okay to fail and then go back again. When they find that if they fall, there is somebody there to hold them as a teacher or a parent, their confidence will automatically increase. Their courage will automatically increase. When they are failing, it is the duty of the teacher to encourage them and give them courage. In Tamil, they say, "Dhairyata ootti valakanum," which means you have to feed courage. It is external. It is external. So as a teacher, you have a bigger role in terms of giving courage to your kids. Okay. So how do you overcome this COVID-19 challenges? Give courage to your kids. And then empathizing. Empathizing is a very small word, but has a very deep meaning. If you allow me, I can teach empathy for the entire full day. So that was the kind of subject this empathy is all about, but I'm going to rush. Remember, there are two worlds, okay? The one world is the world in which you see. That world will not exist if you are not there. The moment you die, that world will die, okay? There is another world. That world will exist even when you are not there. That is other people's world. Very often we see the world only from our own eyes. We fail to see the world which is available for others. So try to see the world from their perspective. If you can see the world from the kids' point of view, you will understand them better, and then you can actually empathize them better. You will not criticize. You will help them. You will help them as a facilitator in terms of learning. You will take all extra effort to help them to learn. Okay. I'm coming to the last point, which is knowing and doing, which is knowing and doing. So knowing and doing is very simple. We all know certain things. We all know certain things. But are we doing it? That's a big question mark. We all know exercising will reduce weight. How many of you actually exercise? If you exercise, please type yes. If you don't exercise, please type no. Right. Even people I'm talking, even people who say no, they know 100% sure exercising is good for health. But should I go ahead and do exercise? So knowing, just because you know something, that does not guarantee you that you will be doing it. Just because you sat 1 full hour in my session and I have taught you what exactly the challenges that you're going to face inside your classroom, that doesn't guarantee you that you're going to follow this. So my request is, humble request is, please try to follow this. Please try to follow this. Lot of people say knowledge is power. No, knowledge is not power. Taking action against the knowledge is power. Taking action is the power. So knowledge is not power. Taking action against the knowledge is power. So knowing is not power. Taking against the knowing is the power. I request you to go and take action. I request you to go and take action. Okay. So I believe that you have understood this. So I can take, if it is okay to take another 5 minutes, I can explain resilience. If it is okay, please type okay. Emima madam, can I take another 5 minutes? Can you come online and say yes? It would be easier for me.
Okay,
So
okay, sir. Okay, sir.
right.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
I'm just taking another 5 minutes of your time. Okay. To discuss on resilience, how to build resilience. It is very easy to say, go ahead and build resilience. But how do I build resilience? I am going to give 4 important steps, 4 important, thing that you can follow in your classroom. It's not just in your classroom, even for your kids. Even for your own kids, you can follow this so that they will be raised as a resilient kid. 1 minute. All right. Okay. Number one, let them know that they have control over their lives. Let them know they have control over their life. Again, due to overparenting, we are not allowing them to take action. Have you seen parents who are so desperate, they are not even ready to make the people to fall down? How do you think a small baby walk? Only after falling 50 times, they walk. Only after falling 50 times, they walk. Every time, if you don't allow your kid to walk, they will never learn to walk. They will never learn to walk. So you have to make them to understand that they have some control over their life, which means that you should allow them to take certain decision, or at least give them an picture that they are taking the decision. The decision is not coming from outside. They are taking the decision. I'll tell you a very simple thing that happened actually. So I don't know if it is exactly fits here, but I think to some extent I can relate to it. This incident happened in US somewhere around 1970. That was the first time when the market has been introduced with cosmetic products like lipstick. Okay. And suddenly there was a huge problem with the management. You know why? All these girls, every time they go inside the restroom, they put lipstick, and then what they do is they went ahead and kissed the mirror. Okay, so there were a huge lips impression on the mirror. The management is literally finding it difficult to wash the mirror. So they have been again continuously, they have been sending circulars saying that if you go and kiss the mirror, you will be fine. Out of all such reminders, they were not able to stop it. You know what the principal did one day? She called all the girls to the restroom, and then she called the person who actually cleans the toilet. And now she said, my dear students, I'm going to teach you how hard it is that we are taking to clean this lips image. And then he asked the guy or the person who actually cleaned in the bathroom to go ahead and clean the mirror. You know what the cleaning person did? The person straight away went inside one of the bathroom, one of the toilet, took the toilet brush, pour the liquid, and then started rubbing the, wiping out the mirror using the toilet brush. Do you think anyone will go ahead and kiss the mirror again? No one will, right? No one will, right? But see, this time, the students still have the choice. If you want to kiss, go ahead and kiss it. Students still have the choice. But none of them did it because they feel they are taking the decision. When you say you have to take the decision, when you say this is the decision that you have to follow, they don't come up with a resilient kid. When you allow them to make decision, and that resilient, that build resilient, that result stays longer. It's okay, let them fail. It's okay, let them fail. You know 100% sure if you are allowing them to take that decision, they are going to fail. Let them take the decision. No, let them take the decision, because that gives them the feeling that they are in control of whatever they are doing. If they don't feel in control, if I feel somebody else is in control, I won't be a resilient kid. While I'm driving, while I'm in a bus, the driver is in control. I am least bothered about it. I simply sleep. That's it. But if the driver is there, when he feels that's in control, the responsibility for him comes straight away to it. He becomes more resilient. So make sure that your kids are becoming more resilient. Make sure that your kids are becoming more resilient just by giving them the feeling that they have control over their life. Let's assume that they are failing in a max. Tell them that's okay. In the next exam, they will pass. Let them have control. Okay, second one. Let them know that they can fail. In these days, we always treat failure as crime. You are not allowed to make crime. As a teacher, you have to understand, if you're not allowing them, if you're not allowing someone to fail, they can never ever come up with something called original in their life. Albert Einstein is always able to produce some extraordinary result because he failed 1,000 times. He allowed himself to fail 1,000 times. Every time he failed, he learned from those failures. Learning from those failures are very important. Failures, what is the opposite of success? Come on, let me see. What is the opposite of success? What is the opposite of success? This is the problem here. We see failure as opposite of success. No, failure is not opposite of success. Failure is a part of success. Understand this. Failure is a part of success. How do you reach the success? You fail better, and then you reach success. Okay. So try to implant these things in the kid. Teach them failing is absolutely okay. The path to success is you reach failure first and then fail better, and then the success. Failure is not the opposite of success. Giving up is the opposite of success. Giving up is the opposite of success, but not failing is the opposite of success. So please take it very clearly. Failure is not the opposite of success. Giving up is the opposite of success. And failure is a part of success. You, as a teacher, you have to teach them that failure is absolutely okay to fail. Okay. If you are not allowing them to fail, they cannot ever produce anything original in their life. If you want to produce something new, let's assume, my dear friends, a lot of countries are trying to generate medicines. Okay. A lot of countries are trying to generate medicines for COVID-19. I can tell you 100%, none of Indian companies will produce that. None of Indian companies will produce that. You know why? Even in our work and environments, I can bet you mistakes and failures are seen as crime. So long you see mistakes and failure as crime, you cannot produce anything original. Before getting inside the actual medicine of COVID-19, you have to face hundreds of failed medicine. So This can be taught in school, not can be, it has to be taught or should be taught inside the school. Teach them it is absolutely okay to fail. Okay, that's one thing. Third thing, they matter as human being. The person who was sitting in front, lot of parents make this mistake. I want to be a pilot, which I missed it, so I want my kid to be a pilot. I wanted to be a doctor, I missed it, so I want my kid to be a doctor. Understand that person is an emotional being. A small kid, a LKG kid sitting inside your class has some kind of emotional inside them. They matter as a human being. Do not take anybody for granted. Let them feel that they are as a human being. You have to make them feel value. That's very important. The more you make them feel human being, there are chances every time when they fall, they come up. A very simple example I can tell you, is these days you can see a lot of foreign breed dogs, right? Foreign breed dogs that has been grown in houses. If you see, these dogs will easily get affected with the disease. And I have seen dogs which will eat only foreign food. But if you see the dogs in your street, it is eating all the garbages, but it has never been ill, or nobody had taken the street dog to the hospital. Why? Because all these 4 points the dog has learned for itself inside the when it is roaming in the streets. But in the name of pampering, in the name of helping the dog to grow comfortably, we are actually spoiling them. So try to make it sure that you are implementing all these points, okay, inside your classroom, as well as inside your parents teacher meeting. And please, if you have the chance of attending the parents teacher meeting, make sure that all these points are being transferred to them. Okay, the last point, they have the real strength to rail on and share. See, as I told you, make them understand they have the real chance. I have a teacher, okay? So every time when I go and ask for a doubt, she will not answer my question. Instead, you know what she will say? What do you think, Ephraim? What do you think? In fact, I have done the same training program. It's this training program we have done in the last 2019 February. This is a creativity workshop we did for kids, okay? Every time when the kid is trying to do something and they are stuck up with something, they come to us and ask, Ephraim, I don't know, I'm getting stuck. What should I do now? Instead of giving a direct solution, you know what I ask them? I ask them, I don't know, but what do you think? Every time when they are forced with some roadblocks, don't give some direct answer. Tell them that you don't know, but ask them what they think. And that's when they start coming up with that. And try to implant the attitude of collaboration. Working together with people. Working together will build courage. Relationship is very core of courage. Okay, so this is all about that. So thank you so much for listening. If you have understood everything, the two priorities of next academic year, survival and resilience, please type survival and resilience in the comment box. Please type survival and resilience in the comment box. That's perfect. That's great. See, friends, I have shared a lot of things, but in case if you find very difficult to a lot of image that has been, I was bombarded with a lot of information. If you really want to take couple of things from this, I would actually request you to take the slide which I'm showing now, how to overcome, and especially the two priorities, survival and resilience. Take this to your heart. I am 100% sure you will have a lot of pressure from the management side as well as from the parent side, asking you to push students for getting more marks. But if you can sustain your students to survive next academic year, there is nothing like that. So I'm just closing my session. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions, please, you can, type your questions here. I'm not saying that I'm an expert, that I am going to answer all your questions. I'll try to answer your question. Okay. So you can post your question. I'll see if I can answer your questions. If you find this presentation is very useful, please type useful so that I can understand. That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. I see a lot of beautiful feedbacks are here coming up. So thank you so much. And
thank you, Ephraim.
thank you so much, Madam. I thank Andamal College of Education for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to interact with such beautiful minds. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Ephraim. Thank you so much for the nice and wonderful session. And formally, a vote of thanks here. At the outset, I deem it a great pleasure to thank the God Almighty, and would like to record my sincere thanks to our college secretary, Mr. S. Muralidharan, for providing us all his support to organize this program. And next, I thank our beloved principal, Dr. A. Joycean Sharmila, who is the driving force behind all the efforts of Anamals. It is because of her it has been happen successfully. Thank you, ma'am. And my thanks are due to the resource person, Mr. Ephraim Xavier. Yes, thank you, Ephraim, who is an international trainer from Alchemist Training Academy. He immediately accepted our request amidst his busy schedule and for his very nice and wonderful session. And this is another opportunity, wonderful opportunity for Anamals to listen to you, Ephraim. Thank you. And next, I thank the organizers team who are the pillars of the success of this program. And finally, I thank all my dear participants, mostly students, I hope, who showed overwhelming responses to the efforts of Anamals, and hope to get in touch with in the future programs too. Dear all, thank you, and thank you one and all.
Thank you, everyone. And, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
And dear participants, and the feedback link is open, and it has been posted in the chat box, and kindly fill the feedback form to get an e-certificate. And for your information, it will be open for another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes. So kindly fill out the feedback form to get the e-certificate. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.